Hello, welcome everyone to session 4, day 4 of Learning Mandate with God. We are so happy for you to tune in. Thank you so much for everyone being so patient and consistent in learning every day as to how that we as men need to really have a date with God, because without we having a date with God first, we cannot move on with having to able to manage our lives, our families as a man. So I would like to welcome again Dr. S.M. Johns with us today for day 4. And if you have any questions, in the link below, there'll be the link for which you can then post your comments further on. Okay, over to you, Dr. Johns.
Well, hello everybody who are watching us today at 7 p.m. Live on Daniel Kadros' Facebook page in India, and to those of you who are watching with us in South Africa, in Europe, in the United Kingdom, the US of A, and other parts of Africa. Welcome. We are on a journey, and I'm so glad that you could join with us on this journey. Thank you so much to you, Daniel Kadros, and your wife, Apia, for hosting this platform where we can reach men and women, husbands and wives. And we want to welcome all the men who are tuning in, and especially all the women and the wives which are tuning in. The object of this 5-day session is that a man must have a date with God, for God to work on a man. And then when God works on a man can deal his lockdown, because a lockdown has the capacity to unlock many hidden things that were already there prior to a lockdown. And while a lockdown can bring much frustration and irritation and conflict of being confined to certain spaces and uncertainty of the future, when a man makes a date with God, he learns to face his tree and deal his misery. He learns to face the mirror and deal his childhood behavior. You see, it's important that during this lockdown, we find our wholeness as a man. In Luke chapter 8 and verses 48, and he said unto her, be of good faith, your comfort, your faith makes you whole. I want to emphasize this part. A man in lockdown can face different frustrations, and lockdown can unlock in you the dormant and the components that have always been there. It's just we've never learned to face it. But if we use the lockdown as an opportunity for our wholeness, Luke 8:50 says, believe only and you shall be made whole. And the truth of the matter is, as men, we have what is called a public face and a private face. And as men, as fathers, and as husbands, we end up being bipolar and schizophrenic, in that we present different parts to us, to different people selectively. The Bible says in Luke 11, verses 36, if your whole body therefore be full of light, Jesus is calling us to wholeness. Luke 17, verses 19 says, your faith has made you whole. John 5:6, Jesus says to the man, do you want to be made whole? And when you make a mandate with God, your mandate with God will get you to face your trees, your family trees, face your childhood behaviors, and today, face your giants and deal your kryptonite. You might say, how does this series on the Daniel Kadros Facebook page help me as a man during lockdown? It helps to make you face your realities so that you can find your wholeness, and your wholeness will give you capacity to deal with different scenarios a man, a husband, and a father must face in life. Do you want to be made whole? Acts 9 verses 34. And Peter said to Aeneas, Jesus Christ makes you whole. And when you follow Jesus as a man, he wants to bring you to your wholeness. Wholeness in what way? Like I said yesterday, a man is made of spirit, soul, and body. But most men want to have a good-looking body, want to have a great mind, but they never realize that wholeness must be in your body, wholeness must be in your soul, and wholeness, Daniel, must even be in our spirit, Pastor Paul. You see, we must be able, Ephesians 6 and verses 11, to put on the whole armor of God. As men, we must deal with every aspect of our vulnerability. As men, and I confess as a man, as a husband, as a father, I am most vulnerable in different areas. And Paul, writing to the church at Ephesus, he says, put on the whole armor of God. 1 Thessalonians 5 and verses 23 says, I pray God your whole spirit, your whole soul, and your whole body be preserved blameless. Because we can work towards our wholeness as men, during a lockdown season, we must use the lockdown as a mandate with God to face the giants inside of us. I'm of the opinion, Pastor Paul, if we can never face the giants inside of us as men, we will struggle to kill the giants outside of us. And secondly, a man is a man when he has honesty to deal with what's frying in his pan. A man is a man when he has the honesty to deal with what's frying in his pan. And that sample I'm saying is taken from the movie by Marvel Comics, and the movie is called Superman. And to those of you on the Family Center watching us, a man is a man when he can deal with what's frying in his pan. Rather than presenting himself as a Superman, deal with the kryptonite that brings your darkness in the night. And so today, I'd like to present this picture to those of you who are watching us in India, in Africa, in the United Kingdom, across Africa, and the United States of America. This is it. Find your wholeness as a man in your lockdown with God to have this mandate. I want to face the giants in my life. I want to deal the kryptonite that brings me to a dark night. Why are women so intelligent to watch this session for the next hour, Daniel? Because it takes a wise woman to listen to how a man ticks. Since you married a man, you are an intelligent woman to stay on this Daniel Kadros Facebook page for the next hour, because you will be able to understand, you'll be able to relate, and also you'll be able to help and know how to pray for the man in your life. That's why 1 Thessalonians 5:23 says, I pray your whole spirit, soul, and body will be made whole. You see, wholeness means finality. It means perfection, completeness, fullness, abundant. It means enlargement. It means soundness. It means roundness. And every man owes it to himself to find his wholeness. Excuse me. Every man owes it to his wife and his family to find his wholeness. Because if a man never finds his wholeness, he will live in his brokenness. And a broken man can break his family because he hasn't got the courage to deal with his kryptonite that leaves him in a dark night. So for those of you who've just come online and joined us again, you're on the Daniel Kadros Facebook page, 7 p.m. India time, 3:30 p.m. South African time. And I'm dealing with day number 4, a mandate with God. Firstly, a man has to face his tree, his family tree, to avoid his misery. When he's honest about his history, rather than celebrating his Christmas tree, he's not ashamed to deal his adultery. Instead of only letting people taste the fragrance of your curry leaf tree before you end up in a cemetery. I'm dealing with men who have the heart, who have the honesty to face the mirror of their childhood behavior. It is said, until you can heal the boy in the man will forever live his life as a Peter Pan. And it's so important what Paul says in 1 Corinthians, put away childishness. And as a man, we become selective in what components of us we want to bring out or emerge. It's called schizophrenic bipolar behavior. In the ring, we float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. But privately, Parkinson's disease kills our stability. I'm making an appeal and a call to women watching, men watching, wives watching, husbands watching. Stay on this page for the next surgical session of a mandate with God. And today in day 4, I'm dealing with face your giants and deal your kryptonite in your life. Number 1, I'd like to draw some comparisons today with Samson, and I want to draw comparisons with the Marvel movie called Superman. Then I want to draw comparisons with David and Goliath. And stay with me as I deal these components for our lives. Number 1, deal the giants in your life. I want to confess as a man, more of my wars as a man are my internal, mental, emotional, relational, psychological wars. And the reason why I can struggle to get victory in my outside wars is when I never make the time, like we're doing now in lockdown, to attend to the giants in our life. You see, this man standing in front of you might be sharing these truths with you, but I've not mastered it all. And so where I'm learning truth and seeing that you shall know the truth and the truth will set you free, I'm sharing these thoughts so that together as men, as married men, and yes, even as preachers, you know, maybe your pastor is an angel from heaven, but I have been born on earth with clay feet. And the truth of the matter is, we all on this journey to fight the giants in our life. I'll show you in a moment how David defeated the giant Goliath on the outside of him. But David didn't defeat the giant of rejection on the inside of him. Let's get on with this dynamic of dealing the giants in your life. Let me draw a comparison. Joseph is the son of Jacob. Jacob is active right at the birth of Joseph. When Joseph is born and Joseph's brother Benjamin is born, you'll hear the presence of a father around. Joseph's father, Jacob, affirms his son. He loves his son. He gives him this multicolored coat. He loves and affirms his son. Then he supports his son. He's seen in the activity of his son. And secondly, he loved his son's mother, Rachel. You'll find that Jacob played a functional, relational, and affirmative role in the life of Joseph. Then I flip the page to David. Watch this, Daniel. David's father, not mentioned much in his birth, had many sons. Even when the prophet Samuel came to ordain a king, and he says to David's father, please bring all your sons in front of me. David's father brings all his sons and forgets David. And then the prophet says, Samuel says, did I miss it? And he says, there's a young boy named David. The father never saw value in the man called beloved of God, David. Now watch these comparisons. When Joseph faces a giant of lust, temptation for adultery through Potiphar's wife while a servant in Potiphar's home, Joseph runs away because his father's affirmation over his life helped to bring him to wholeness and kill the giant of rejection. The other side of life is David is on the rooftops. David is king. David got the whole kingdom in hand. David got 2 wives downstairs. One is even the princess, even Saul's daughter. But when David is watching the woman Bath, he's starting Bathsheba. And this is it. David starts to yearn for another woman. David never found the completeness in his affirmation and deal with the rejection of his father. Essentially, Joseph managed to kill the giant in him. He could run away from Potiphar's wife. David couldn't kill the giant in him. So my premise is this to us as men, on your mandate with God during lockdown, to find your wholeness as a man, learn to identify giants in your life. Number 2, empower yourself to face your giants. And number 3, kill the giants in you, because they will forever remain the hindrances, your Achilles heel, and destroy destiny. I'm saying to women and wives watching right now, why you staying on this channel is because now you become aware. Number 2, now you know how to pray for your husband. And number 3, it helps you to be able to process and how to relate to your man. I'm saying to those who are unmarried men, to those who are just husbands right now, those who are fathers, lockdown can unlock many frustrations in you. But when you learn this key of facing your giants in you, you can become a better man. Number 1, if for those of you who are writing, number 1, face the giant of identity in you. Every man is in the rat race. And if you have an unexamined life, your significance and your importance and your job contentment is the things that you measure your life with. Let me say this to us as men. The biggest problem we go through as men, and our wives wonder and struggle, why do we behave the way we behave? Why do we respond the way we respond? Because we've never learned to face and kill the giant of a distorted identity in our lives. We suffer with identity crisis because we measure our life in the rat race by an unexamined life. Our significance is placed on job contentment and community and public grandeur and attachments. I say to you, your identity as a man is only in Jesus. The thing to measure your identity is image and likeness of God. Number 2, men must face and kill the giant of relationships in their life. When men are honest, watch this, lady. Your husband can go with you to your family and say very little. You can be married to a man, you can ask the question and answer the question and ask the next question. Men struggle with relationships and they find it just irritating how sometimes women can just start a conversation, pick up a relationship. Men are generally stealth, OMDs, orchestral maneuvers in the dark, very quiet, sizing up, calculating, because men are hunters, they're assessing, and they read sometimes too much into a thing. That's us, we're guilty. Men have relationship giants, broken relationships, regrets, broken relationships between children and spouses, friends, in-laws. If we never learn to deal the broken relationships between your in-laws, maybe you have the best of relationships with your in-laws. My in-laws have passed on and they have been fantastic in-laws, Mr. and Mrs. Creamer. They love God and I've had fantastic relationship with them. But let me face a reality. Many couples and families that come to our rooms for counseling, some of their giants have been the relationship giants or broken relationships with in-laws. Some people have broken relationships with their sons and daughters. Some people have broken relationships with their wives or with their husbands. And that is a killer giant in a life. Whether you're a married man in India, a married man in Durban, South Africa, or Johannesburg, or Cape Town, or Uganda, or Nigeria, or Ghana, where you're watching from, London, or Slough, or from Wembley, or from New York, or Baltimore, you must face the truth. Men struggle generally with relationships. Some men can even have better relationships with other men's wives than they can have with their own wives. We have to face the giant. I'm being honest. We struggle with giants. And it robs us as men to find our wholeness. Therefore, during a lockdown, in so much frustration and struggles where we don't know what the future holds, we unlock behavior patterns which are toxic to the home. And now in lockdown, in confined spaces, we burst and explode on each other. I say to you as a man, let's face the giants inside of us. Number 3, men must face the money giants inside of them. Capitalism, commercialism, consumerism, and credit. Perhaps the sub-Indian continent is not marinated as some of the developing nations and the Western nations in credit, commercialism, capitalism, and consumerism. But you are fast growing in those 4 C's. And all that India needs to do is watch the way capitalism, commercialism, consumerism, and credit is eating into the fiber of China right now. And you learn the truth. You will learn the truth. You will end up as a man buying things with money you don't have. Things you don't need. To impress people you don't like. It's called capitalism's way to present commercialism to bring you into consumerism, and consumerism bring you into credit. I say this to you as a man. How many families are in a greater financial stress because of the giant of money now? Because before we went and the world went into this lockdown and this COVID-19, their debt and their credit levels have been strangling them. And the people that are mangling and the people that are struggling mentally and psychologically the most is the people who are in financial debt right now. Imagine, Daniel, if people learn to listen to Gandhi ji about how to regulate our economy, our buying spaces. 100 years ago, as a man, kill the giant of money in your life. Kill the giants of poverty in your life? How many people are just about in this time trying to just preserve for themselves? But you know, when you're a man who's disciplined from money's hold over you, you'll get the victory. I have encouraged many men. If money has been an argument in your marriage, if money has been a stumbling block in your home, one day you as a man must take your wallet with all the money in, sit in your bedroom, put your wallet down on the bed and have a conversation with your wallet. And you say, you see, you money, you see, you've been causing arguments between me and my wife. You've been causing problems in my home. You've been causing sleepless nights for me. You get my mind messed up, you money. Tomorrow I'm going to church. And for all the trouble you've been doing, I'm going to give you away. Give you away. I'm going to punish you. That sounds like a joke. But you know, when a man can allow the grip of money and poverty and greed to unloosen over his neck, then he'll find the values of life. Number 4, a man must deal with the giant of his time. You see, if you will ever find wholeness, find it during a lockdown with a mandate with God, where you can come face to face with the giants in your life, your time. You know, sometimes, Pastor Paul, Daniel, man, if you ever knew that a man's greatest enemy is his mind. Man's greatest enemy is his mind. A wife wishes what is going on in a man's mind. Some of your men are watching me right now. Your mind works 20 to the dozen overtime. And you know within yourself as a man, nobody knows how I'm chewing in my mind as a man. And a man and his time is very important. Time management is a very crucial principle for man. Because if we never deal our time, I am never bored. I'm never bored. I'm not during this 50 some odd days of lockdown bored, don't know what to do, frustrated. I don't live within that paradigm because I've learned to keep my mind disciplined. I've learned to mature my mind and bring my mind, Paul says, to the casting down of imaginations and bring wholeness to my mind. I wonder how some of you husbands are dealing with frustration. You know, the abnormal has become normal. The abnormal is that we can find it very crippling and limiting to be staying locked down in the house. We prefer to be at work and rather connect with family and wives within a certain time space. But God has a sense of humor, Pastor Paul. He now lets us all stay in lockdown so that a man may learn how to bring out the best in his time. Deal the giants in your life. Number 6, a man must deal with his temperament giant, his pride. Did I say pride? Yes, I got pride, and every man watching me, if you're honest, say with me, we got pride giants. Hello? We got pride giants. A man must deal with his fears, his anger, his independence. We all, as men, must face our temperament giants. Face your fears. Face your temperaments, your mood devis. Face your kachara ways. Face your horrible ways. Face your dirty ways. Face your anxieties and your stresses. Then a man must face the integrity giant in his life. Let me tell you something. Our secret thoughts, we have to be accountable for what is working in our minds. Some men can't go to work right now, but Daniel, believe me, their minds are working. And they're working overtime, Decima. They're working overtime up here. They're working overtime, Pastor Paul. We have to deal with our minds as our men. And our minds need to deal with our integrity. What are the integrity components that are compromised as a man? Then as a man, we need to deal with our communication giants. Let's be honest. Women explode, men implode. As a man, we can go into silence. Mumps for men. Mood heavy. We got dick back. I want to say to us as a man, we can present ourselves with anger and silence when we've never dealt with the communication giant that is killing our lives. And lastly, this is a big one, and I want to honestly confess this as a man, the depression giant. I wish women knew how many men go through depression. Daniel, they say a cat has 9 lives. Let me tell you something. Listen to me. A married man has 1,000 lives. And sometimes the woman you marry to doesn't even know that you have already eaten up or used up 700 of your lives. Because men die quietly, like old elephants on the savannah fields. They quietly go and die. Some women in a marriage will watch their man sit quietly, very seldom talk, because men face depression. A woman finds greater expression in talking, in shouting, in screaming, in ranting and raving. And you'll even hear your wife say, answer, answer. Don't you want to say something? Why you don't say something? And a man, when you deal a man like that lady, he feels you are taking him on like a MMA fighter, like a Mayweather, like a Pacquiao, like a boxer. And he chooses rather to die quietly. Another man will never do that to a man, because that is an invitation for a fight. I want to make an appeal. Women, don't kill your husband. You are a wife, not a knife. I repeat, woman, you are a wife, not a knife. And the man is constantly struggling to kill the depression giant in his life. A man got frustrations. During lockdown, he's frustrated. Where do I go from here? During lockdown, he thinks, will I still have a job? During lockdown, he's thinking about all the bills, while others, Monica, can think about Bill Clinton. Let me tell you something. Men have wants, frustrations, and unfulfilled needs. I want to make a challenge to all of us as men out there. Face the giants inside of you, and you will learn to kill the giants outside of you. Men can manage lockdown as long as they use their lockdown as a mandate with God to find their wholeness, that whatever comes their way as a man, they've already learned to kill the giant inside of them. I want to say this. Kill your giants. Adam lost it with the sway of the fairer sex. Cain lost it with jealousy. Noah lost it with the fruit of the vine. Abraham lost it with self-preservation. Lot lost it running after possessions. Jacob lost it with deception. Moses lost it with anger. Aaron lost it with idolatry. Samson lost it with enticement. Eli lost it with compromise in his home. Saul lost it with disobedience and ambition. David lost it with lust and adultery and murder. Elijah lost it with discouragement. Haman lost it with ambition. Nebuchadnezzar lost it with pride. The rich young ruler lost it with possessions. Herod lost it with jealousy. Caiaphas lost it with intimidation. Pilate lost it by playing to the crowd. Judas lost it for 30 pieces of silver. Agrippa lost it with procrastination. Demas lost it having loved this present world. You as a man, you don't have to lose the battle during lockdown. Find your wholeness by facing your giants. Deal your identity, your relationships, your money, your time, your temperament, your integrity, your addictions, your communication, your depression. Can I tell you something as a man? 33 years married this year to the same woman. I've never raised my hand, Pastor Paul Decima, to my wife, but I want to be honest as a man. Not that I didn't think about it. Oh, you think I'm bad? What about you? Come on, be honest with me as a man. Do you know the hand is for 5? And sometimes you want to give everybody 5-fold ministry. The apostles, the prophets, the pastors, the teachers, and the evangelists. And you just want to hit a situation because as a man, you only know how to deal with anger. And that's where our fathers have failed. Our fathers may have messed us up with anger, but we must kill the anger giant in our lives. Would you agree with me? If you can kill the giants inside of you, you can kill the giants outside of you. What do you think? Shall we drink to that? You know, during lockdown, I was thinking about something, Daniel. We all get squeezed upon as a man during lockdown. This is my wife's toothpaste, Aqua Fresh. This is my toothpaste, Musu Japanese toothpaste. Obviously, this is an extremely expensive Japanese toothpaste versus a famous brand. And I'm not here to promote the brands. I'm here to make a point. When I squeeze Aqua Fresh, something comes out. And you know, during lockdown, men are squeezed. And Daniel, what comes out of men was already inside of men. The worst a man can say to his wife, "You bringing the worst out of me." That is kachra, that is rubbish. Man, if the giant is inside of you, when it's squeezing, and you know God has a sense of humor, he can use your wife to squeeze you. She can squeeze you in the day. You don't like that squeeze. You only like night squeeze. Your children can squeeze you. Your bills can squeeze you. Everything can squeeze you. And when you go through the squeeze, what comes out of you, you must deal with. It's called your giants. When I squeeze my Miniso Japanese toothpaste, a very clear, nice green tea herbal toothpaste comes out. A man, whatever's inside of you will come out of you. And how many men are honest to say, during lockdown, I have been squeezed. My question to you is, what came out of you? You know the size of a man by what it takes to drop him. That's why we have to kill giants. Amen? Let's move on. Number 2, I would like to now deal with Superman and deal with Samson. Number 1, faster than a locomotive, more powerful than a speeding bullet, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look up in the air. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. And every woman would love to be married to a Superman. Every child wants their daddy to be a Superman. Except to say this Superman is a visitor from a strange planet called Krypton. And on Krypton, there is a green product called kryptonite. And while Samson is a Superman is great on earth, if kryptonite comes Samson's way, the kryptonite weakens Samson that he becomes like an ordinary man. Marvel Comics celebrates this great Superman, and every man wishes he can be like Superman. But one green luminous substance from the planet called Krypton, and this substance is called kryptonite. It has the capacity to suck the greatness out of Samson and bring Samson to a weak man. And I, drawing the comparison, say every Samson must face the giant of his kryptonite, or else he will be a weak man. Listen to this. Now I want to get to the Bible pages, the book of Judges from chapter 14 to Judges chapter 16. His name is Samson. He's the champion who became a clown. A child of promise with a condition. Save Israel from the Philistines. But he made the wrong choices and decisions. The children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. He gave them into the hand of the Philistines for 40 years. Samson's mother was barren. By prophetic word, the angel of God promised she will have a son. But there were certain conditions his parents had to observe. He was assigned and destined to destroy the Philistines. He was a Nazirite, a holy vow unto God. From the womb till death, he was to abstain from 3 things. Don't cut your hair. I don't know how that works in my case, Daniel. Or for you, Dominic, who's growing a afro. He was told, don't drink wine. Don't go near a dead body. 3 things. Don't cut your hair. Don't drink wine or strong drink. And don't go near a body. Samson desired his enemy, and he fell in love with the enemy. He told his parents, get her for me. She is right in my eyes. He married his enemy. Kirk Douglas, he was sleeping with the enemy. She betrayed him. The enemy was on the outside who lured him through threats. The enemy on the inside. She paid with her life. She was given to his best man. He loved what he was supposed to hate and hated what he was supposed to love. He met and then slept with a Philistine prostitute. He paid for her services when at home for his wife, he could have got it for free. She was used as bait for the enemy. Prey, P-R-E-Y. The enemy wanted him dead. He met and loved Delilah, but wasn't in love with her. He didn't give her his heart. She was enticed. She was enticed. And he was enticed by her. Let me say this to you. 3 things Samson was not supposed to do, Daniel. The Bible says he killed a lion and he came near its dead carcass to eat from it. The Bible says, number 2, when he married the one woman, he celebrated with the wine from the wedding. He violated 1 and 2. And number 3, with Delilah, he had his hair cut. Samson broke all 3 of the Nazirite vows. Samson couldn't destroy the giant in his life. We learn a powerful lesson from Samson, like we learn from Superman in the Marvel Comics. Every man must face his kryptonite before it brings you to load shedding at night. You see, as men, we must draw these analogies and these comparisons between Samson and Superman. You see, you were not born in this little Smallville town known as Zora. You're a man made of flesh. And like Samson, you made a vow unto God to preserve the image and the likeness of God in you. Don't let nothing break the vow that you have with God. I repeat, don't let nothing let you lose your edge. Number one, Samson was an extremely great man. He had the power to tear a lion apart. Number two, Samson had the power to use the jawbone of an ass, of a donkey, and slay 1,000 Philistines. And number three, Samson could pick up the city gates of steel, of metal, and run for 40 miles and kill many Philistines. All his greatness came to a grinding halt. Pastor Paul, Daniel, all of it came to a grinding halt. Those of you watching on the Family Center page, and those of you watching in the UK and the USA, all because Samson could not kill the giants in his life. Like a Superman, Samson failed to deal the kryptonite in his life. I want to make an appeal to you. Face your giants. Deal the kryptonite in your life, so that, like a South Africa, we don't end up with load shedding. Like my wife's toothpaste and my toothpaste. My wife's toothpaste produces a different gel compared to my toothpaste. Because when you squeezed in life, and you women watching, watch when you squeeze and watch when you tease. I say to those who are wives watching, you're a wife, you're not a knife. Don't slice up your man with your mouth. Men die many deaths, and it's so vital that you value the man that you marry to. Celebrate him if he's where there's a faithful man. Forgive him when he's made mistakes. The worst thing a woman, Daniel, can do to a man is she can use her body as a weapon. Delilah used her body as a weapon to Samson, and she brought his demise. The men who fall with the kryptonite get their eyes gouged out. Their vision is gone, but it's not the end. Tomorrow you must tune in with me again. 3:30 South Africa time and 7 p.m. India time as I come to the last 100-meter sprint. Through Samson, God was saying to Israel, if you want to be strong, if you want to be confident, if you want the Philistines to fear you, don't get drunk like other nations. Don't touch unclean things, and don't defile yourself with dead things. By his very existence, Samson was a billboard declaring to us all men, separate yourself holy unto God. Be a holy man. The Bible says in the book of Hebrews, Daniel, holy men spoke as they were moved of God. Without holiness, no man shall see God. Holiness means purity and uncontamination. Some of you might watch this program on YouTube, but how many men are honest even about their very phones? Inside their phones, and YouTube is a good program, Daniel, but through YouTube, how we end up accessing pornography, through YouTube, how we end up getting ourselves into strongholds that suck the life of God out of us. Ministers and those who are not ministers, married and unmarried, teenagers, young guys, at a young age, getting locked down with the giant of pornography. Let's break up that word. Pornography is the study of adultery. And like I did when I told you as men, face your tree, we need to face the spirit of pornography that is a silent giant killing many men. You know, I have a young man, I love him very much. His name is Keegan. He's from Chatsworth in Durban. And Keegan told me as a computer technician, he says, Pastor, I went to one of the big churches one day, Daniel, and this is what he said to me, Pastor Paul. He said, you'll never believe what I found on the hard drive of some churches. Pornography. Yes, Daniel, hard drive of churches. Pornography. The church's computer hard drives had pornography. And how important it is as a man. We have a private world that nobody sees. Clean up on pornography, because it will limit you in your geography to reach your destiny. And wives, pray for your husbands in these areas. Husbands, get your healing and your deliverance from these giants. I repeat, Samson had the courage to deal the giants in his life. You know, we've grown up in our culture wearing as men, and ladies, listening to this, wearing underpants. Did you know that in the book of Leviticus, Moses is with God, Daniel, and God says to Moses, tell Aaron when he comes before me to keep his underpants on. Keep his underpants on. God makes reference to the things that are under our outside garbs, the underpants. And as a man, the underpants for those in Britain keep the crown jewels. For those in South Africa, the underpants keeps the blow biller. For men all over the world, it's our private parts. And I want to draw the analogy and the comparison, because I want to come to the scriptures and find out that God called men to circumcise. Before you can criticize, circumcise. Don't try to improvise when God calls you to circumcise. The word circumcision, what is circumcision? Circumcision is the surgical removing of the foreskin, the tissue covering the head glands of the male's private parts. It's an ancient practice that has its origins in religious rites. Today, many parents have their sons circumcised for religious or other reasons or hygienic reasons. Some by sharpened stone back in the day, like a flint stone. Circumcision is usually performed on the first or second day after the birth. Among the Jewish population, circumcision is performed on the 8th day, when scientifically the baby's health is at its peak. The procedure became more complicated and risky in older babies, children, and men. The Bible speaks about circumcision. On this mandate with God during lockdown, when you are squeezed, I'm talking to men about facing giants. And sometimes men need to drop their pants and deal with the giants in their life, the private parts to their life that nobody sees, that is covered up by everybody. The American Academy of Pediatricians found that health benefits of newborn male circumcision outweigh the risks. The procedure may be recommended in older boys, and men treat phimosis, the inability to retract or to treat an infection. There are benefits to circumcision: a decreased risk of urinary tract infections, a reduced risk of some sexually transmitted diseases in men, protection against penile cancer or cervical cancer, prevention of balanitis, which is an inflammation of the glands, prevention of phimosis. Circumcision also brings hygienic levels to a male. And isn't it interesting that the Bible calls men physically to circumcision, but in the New Testament, the Bible calls all believers to a heart circumcision, essentially using this analogy: deal the private parts of your life, the giants that make you fall. You know, David was physically circumcised, but his heart wasn't circumcised. And that's why David could not kill the giant in his heart. He circumcised the private parts in his pants as a boy. And every man must have the courage to ask himself a simple question: what parts of my flesh can get me into trouble? And how many men have the courage to come to their fathers? And this is the story with Abraham. The Bible says Abraham circumcised every man in his camp, from boy to adult man. God says in his word, I want to kill Moses because Moses doesn't want to circumcise his son of African descent, since he married an African woman. And throughout the Jewish tradition, the call is for men to circumcise. I want to tell you why we must circumcise. Genesis 17 verses 11, you shall circumcise the flesh. Deuteronomy 10:16, circumcise the foreskin of your heart. Deuteronomy 30 verses 6, circumcise your heart that you may live. Joshua 5:2, make sharp knives. You know, so many people call people, oh, my spiritual father. Pastor Paul, listen to this one in Mumbai. So many people want call, that's my spiritual father, and that's my spiritual father, and that's my spiritual father. Let me explain something. When it comes to circumcision, fathers circumcise their sons. The one way that you know somebody can relate to you as a spiritual son is when they give you the permission as a spiritual father to call you to drop your pants and allow your spiritual father to deal with the private parts to your life, to deal with the fleshly components of your life that you can't deal with. It takes a father. And you know something? Your father is not Japanese and going for a sushi knife, a nice sharp Japanese knife for sushi. Back in the day, it was a stone that they sharpened, and they were ready to slice the skin. I want to say this: when a young man can submit to a spiritual father and allow a spiritual father to deal his flesh and the private parts of his life, to cut him and it's going to bleed, he does it because he loves you. In privacy, he'll cut you. Not publicly. In privacy, he'll cut you because he knows there's benefits to circumcision. You know, when people are truly your spiritual sons and daughters is when, as a son, they allow you to take a flintstone, a blunt knife, and leave a bloody trail because they gave you permission to deal with their flesh. In Afrikaans, in South Africa, we say die klein velletjie. Die klein velletjie, the small pieces of skin that needs attention. I want to say to us as men, have the courage to go into lockdown with God. Have a mandate where you use this as a date with God to deal with all the frustrations that emerges in your home, in your mind. Face your tree, face your history, face the mirror, deal with your childhood behavior, and also have the courage to face the giants inside of you. It takes a man to do that. Face the giants inside of you. Identity, relationships, money, time, temperament, integrity, addictions, communications, depression. Learn from the Superman movie. Kryptonite will bring your demise. Learn from Samson. Keep holy and totally committed to God. I want to say to us as men, face your giants. I don't know what's your giants. Is it sexual impurity, lust, masturbation, homosexuality, fornication, frigidity, self-will, stubbornness? Is it resentment and hatred and unforgiveness and murder and doubt? Is it pride? Is it compulsions and nicotines and gambling and addictions? Is it lying and fantasizing? Jesus prayed this prayer. He taught us. He said, deliver us from all evil. I want you to know something. Whether you're the most holiest on the planet, whether you feel you're the least, Jesus taught us all to pray this prayer. Deliver us from all evil. We have to have the courage to realize if we never kill the giants inside of us, they will destroy us and we'll never make a success in this world. Learn from Joseph and learn from David. Joseph's father affirmed him. David's father, Jesse, did not affirm him. Joseph found wholeness inside of him. David didn't find wholeness inside of him. When Potiphar's wife was coming like a Julia Roberts pretty woman, Joseph could run, and like a Usain Bolt, he broke the record. But David was singing, I want to run to you, ooh, and if I come to you, don't let the lurings of Delilah get the best of you as a man. Because a man has the courage to drop his pants and deal with his private parts, his flesh, in circumcision. Because if he never circumcises, he'll be ostracized. Don't try to improvise. Allow your spiritual fathers to help you with your giants. You know when somebody's a spiritual son to you, Pastor Paul, is when they can drop their pants, and when you pull a sharpened stone to cut their flesh, they don't stop running. They don't start running away from you. They'll say, cut me, because my circumcision is necessary. Well, let me go back to my wife's toothpaste and my toothpaste. My wife's toothpaste, you press it and different colors come out. My toothpaste, Japanese toothpaste, you press it, one color comes out. During lockdown as a man, we are pressed, we are frustrated, we are angry, we are fearful, we are agitated, we spit out venom, we get angry, we ended up taking out our frustrations on our wives, on family, and on children, even kick the dog. Don't do that. Don't do that. Deal with what's in you. If I press my wife's toothpaste, I'm not shocked that Aquafresh comes out. When I press my toothpaste, I should not be surprised that Miniso, green tea, Japanese toothpaste comes out. Why, when you are pressed during lockdown, you're surprised at what comes out of you? Bring the best out of you. A tree is known by its fruit. And us as men, we can bring the best out of us by first killing the worst in us. We can bring the best out of us by first killing the worst in us. I want to say to wives, listen to this, Decima and Esther. Husbands need your prayerful support to kill the giants in their lives. If you have sons, if you have boys, mother, listen to me. Your sons need your prayers to deal the giants in their lives. And wife, you're a wife, not a knife. Husbands, when she corrects you, she's a wife. She's not a knife. Don't fight and want to strangulate your wife, because during lockdown, all these frustrations come out. I want to make a challenge to us as men. Make this mandate with God be of immense value to you. Face your giants. Face your giants. Face your kryptonite. Face the emptiness inside of you. Drop your pants, circumcise, deal with your flesh. Face the strongholds that are in your life. Face pornography. Face lust. Face masturbation. Face homosexuality and adultery. And today, find your freedom, because Jesus prayed, deliver us from all evil. I pray for you today as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a woman watching, knowing how to understand. Now that you are getting the secrets on Daniel's Facebook page, Monday to Friday, now you know how to pray for your husband. Lord, help me and all those men who had the courage to watch with me, to be honest about the giants in our life, and empower us like a David to kill the Goliaths in us before we face the Goliaths outside of us. May we learn to be like a Naaman in the book of Kings. Help us, God, to be like Naaman in 1 Kings chapter 5. Naaman was the captain of the Syrian army, but Naaman was a leper. On his public life, he dressed in splendor, opulence, and grandeur, but privately he knew leprosy is killing me. Help us as men to be like a Naaman and find the prophet Elisha and say, help me deal the giant of leprosy that is killing me, so that we can dip ourselves publicly and find a new day for us. In the name of Jesus the Christ, the Son of the living God. If you're a backslidden man, if you wandered away from God and you want to come back to God, this is your time. On this Daniel Kadros page, lockdown moments, a mandate with God, you can come back to Jesus. You know what I learned about God? He'll never give up on us. It's never too late, sir, to start your life all over again. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward for you joining me and Daniel tomorrow, Friday, the last day, on a mandate with God. God bless you. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pastor, for sharing today a wonderful word. Wow. How many of us men are ready to get circumcised? Yo, that was something. So many
Let
of
your
us
father do it.
Yeah, we're being squeezed in and out every day. And yeah, that's true what you shared. And I believe that there are many more issues that have to be addressed and that have to be, we need to sit down and start, listing down the things and the places where we were rejected, where we were looked down on, and all these things have built up and have, built that anger, resentment, and all of those issues. So tomorrow is going to be the ending of all those things that I've, how to just finish it all. And I believe that once you receive this, you're able to apply it and then start, it's not a one day thing, it's a journey now. You're starting to apply it to your life and you're beginning to walk with it. So tomorrow is going to be the last and the final day of us learning our mandate with God and how that we can grow stronger as men, before God. And I'm so happy. Thank you so much, Dr. Shaun, for you giving your valuable time. Really, it's such a pleasure for us to learn. And I've had this desire for the last almost 2 years. I've always been wanting to do a men's conference, and at last we could do it online. And thank you so much for you sharing your heart out. And if anything, anytime you want to have a word with Pastor Shaun, I can just share you the email ID. You can just message me on your inbox, and I'll share with you his email ID so that you can have a one-to-one interaction with him, and that you can pass through this journey as a man. We are so excited even for next week. We're going to have something called as maximizing your moment. We're going to have Isaiah Raymond from United Kingdom. We're going to have Dr. Shaun from South Africa. And we're so excited for the speakers that are going to be lined up for next week.
Youth.
Yeah, for youth. And we would love to everyone to join in. So, but specialized for the youth, maximizing your moment. So spread the word. The leaflets will be out on Saturday or tomorrow if it's ready. But thank you so much for joining in and tuning in. I hope you're blessed. Share the videos. If you want to edit it, you want to take it, you want to share it, you want to do anything with it, you're free to do so. None of these videos, I'm not so pleasure to have them, but I'm blessed that you can take it forward so that someone else's life can be blessed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us. Anything, Pastor?
Yes, can I say this to those who are watching with us? This is day 4. And if you go on Daniel Kadros's Facebook page, you will be able to catch day 1, 2, and 3, even if you've missed it. And I say, like a course of antibiotics, it's 5 days, course of antibiotics. Commit to yourself that even if you've missed some of the past programs, go on it and use it as a daily antibiotic. It'll help. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m., our last and final day. God bless you.